Hello everyone, welcome to Redmen TV. It is the instant match reaction after Liverpool beat Crystal Palace at Anfield by 3-0. I am Ross Chanley, that is Errol, in there is Tom Dutton. You are at home, thank you very much for watching. Very much enjoyed that game. Just moments where we're a bit touch and go, but I thought Crystal Palace gave us a really good game. We're going to talk through some of the points during this show, and obviously we'll be a bit more in depth on Monday morning with Errol, Paul and Chris. We'll be doing an hour-long show on the final word. You can get that and a host more. Whole lot more content on redmentv.com. Get yourself signed up right now. Errol, Liverpool on the game of football. Lovely.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
I feel like it's just becoming familiar settings at the moment. Me, you, Tom in the cut, Liverpool getting 3 points and winning.
It's like we needed those players to come back from injury.
Yeah.
And we performed the way that we did the season before.
Yeah, 100%. It's just good to see, especially with the fact that, there's been I wouldn't necessarily say panic from the fan base, but there's been a little bit of anxiety is probably a more apt word. Yeah, when it comes to Klopp's choice of starting 11s and the rotation. But we've had 2 huge games this week. They probably wouldn't have been the strongest 11s that even me and you could have put out. But Klopp knows this team inside out. He knows who can do what job and what game suits which players. And he got it spot on again today.
Yeah, 100%. Is that I don't think misconception is the word I'm looking for, but I heard Chris briefly on the match build-up show of saying we as fans would all go as strong as possible. So 18 man, I was going as strong as possible, get it done, whatever, get the 3 points, and then worry about the next game then and there. But obviously Klopp doesn't feel like that. Klopp isn't as emotional as you just pointed out there. Like him and his staff will know the squad. To Chris's point was, well, maybe we'll see, an 80% Liverpool team in terms of strength 3 or 4 times before we see the big guns. I think he pointed to the Manchester City fixture. Yeah. Might be one of those. Norwich, obviously, a bit of a one-off. I think it'll be heavily rotated for that one. But again, there was question marks from the fan base, including myself, who, like, oh my God, like, David Origi mainly is starting this game. John Matt didn't play, and I would have thought, well, if he's fit, you playing for this one sort of thing. But Klopp showing, like, as you just said there, he's using his squad. There's a reason that he's got a squad there, and we're seeing the benefits of having a squad.
Yeah, and that's probably a fair reflection from Chris there as well, really. And I think more than anything else, the fact that we're able to use the squad so early on is only going to benefit us when we do need to draw for the big guns on a more consistent basis. But one, it gives the wider squad that little bit of confidence. But again, they're standing up. When they're being called on, those lads are coming in and they're performing really well. And the probably one of the biggest credits to this side is it at the moment, and based on the results that have come before, the style of play and the approach to the games, as well as the intensity, hasn't changed. It doesn't matter who he's brought in for who. It's still been there. The patterns of play have still looked fairly similar. We don't look as predictable. We're scoring all kinds of goals at the moment, which we'll definitely be touching on in a sec. So it just bodes well, really, for how we're setting ourselves up. We're giving ourselves strong foundations, and already in these early stages of the season, we're putting the other, chasing pack under pressure to say, well, keep up.
Yeah, and that's probably helps with the players as well in that sense of it was hard for us last season. I've said this quite a few times, so again, apologies if I'm repeating myself, of going, okay, it's that midfield, it's a bit of a slog, the results weren't great, the performances weren't there, there was obviously no fans, but those players are going in, week out, and then going, well, for Robertson, for example, give it everything it's season plan, because Costas is going to come in on Saturday, mate. So, you give everything, you do that. There's healthy competition for places. Centre-backs, I said before, I love the way we mixed it up in between, it's Gomez and Matip. So you kind of got, not that Gomez isn't a senior player, but obviously the senior player in Matip, ushered by Joe Gomez, is a nice balance there. And obviously Virgil for Canate today. Okay, well, you've been rotated, you've had a rest. It's up to you to perform, because if you don't perform properly, there's other
waiting
options
in the
there.
wings.
Exactly,
yeah, and the level doesn't drop. As you said there, it's probably the right word. It's that balance. Matip and Gomez had that balance between them. Yeah. You can always count on Gomez for the recovery pace, as well as Matip for that stability and the way he is a bit of a leader. He's a bit more of a quiet leader, but he goes about his business so assured that you don't have any real kind of reservations about how he's going to defend or how he's going to turn up on the pitch. Likewise, today, Virgil van Dijk, you know exactly what you're going to get. He's the best centre-back in the world. He's going to marshal that defence. He's going to be screaming at that back line, giving everybody the instructions. And you've got a young lad in Keita who's going to pick up so much from that and get confidence, knowing the first thing I said when we did the the team news today is, we've said it so many times that me and you would look good playing next to Van Dijk. Well, this lad looked really well and looked really comfortable playing next to him. And again, it gives him a lot of confidence moving forward.
Under pressure as well. I think you brought it up in comms of, it's his Premier League debut. Klopp's actually pointed out, I've got some quotes here from Jurgen Klopp.
This is the start for him, isn't it?
Yes, it's Klopp on Canate. He said, we all saw the potential he has. Game understanding is all there. He's a young boy who is skilled. The Premier League teaches you harsh lessons. Today was a good example. Edouard Zaha, a proper striker. Canate did well, and that's exactly it, isn't it? I think we tend to forget. We see him in pre-season. Obviously, he's a massive unit. He looks like an exceptional player. He's a young lad who will get better, but that doesn't take away the fact that he's obviously 21, 22 years of age. Doesn't feel pressure. Or doesn't go, well, actually,
new league, new country.
Yeah, exactly. And the players that he's up against, your home debut at Anfield, when there is pressure on you. And he took it in his stride.
Yeah, and you said that, again, that was another thing that was mentioned, that, Palace can be a bit of a bogey team. I know we've done well in recent history against them, but you can't underestimate the threats that they have at their disposal as well. Ayu's quite good. Zaha can be an exceptional player on his day. He can be unplayable sometimes. We had, some reservations in terms of how Milner was going to be able to deal with that threat, them going down that left-hand side. And, we know, as Liverpool fans, what Benteke can bring, and we just didn't want this game to be a bit of a banana skin. We didn't want them to be able to embarrass us in the way that they embarrassed Spurs last week, and none of that defence kind of did any of their reputations any damage. And you're looking at the likes of Alisson as well in terms of that, the fact that he's kept another clean sheet. He played really well. Moments where we probably might have switched off slightly. He didn't switch off. He was still there. He was sharp. He was claiming things, punching them, saving things off the line really when there was, a bit of a mix-up in communication. So all those things, again, just bleed into the confidence, and it just echoes to the other players in the leagues as if to say, what is it that we've got to do as a forward line to consistently damage this Liverpool team again? For me, it's that confidence. Goals can be conceded in games, and that happens. That's part and parcel of football. But teams are looking at it, hopefully going, thinking, are we going to get 2-3 to win this game? To get 3 points, you're going to have to score more than one. But Liverpool aren't giving teams enough chances to score more than one.
100%. We conceded one goal, and it was a very good header from Chelsea. Obviously, there's two against AC Milan as well. But one thing I wanted to pick up there, there's a super chat that's coming, I'll get to that in a second, thank you very much, is the fact that something that was mentioned after we won the league, and it was Emma Sanders, it was on the show, and she mentioned, obviously we got hammered by Man City after that, and everyone was still obviously smashed at that, smashed at that point. But I think not only did Liverpool's confidence seem to drop after that point, but also I think the mentality of the fear that Liverpool put into teams had gone at that point, and obviously it completely gone last season, whether that's fans playing a role or it was injuries or whether it was both. And again, I know it's early days, I don't want to cast wild ideas out there, but do you think that's a sign at what Liverpool are doing now? Because as you were talking there, I thought, well, actually, Liverpool are starting to get the mojo back in terms of the pitch, but Liverpool are also making themselves very hard to play against, and we're starting to build up, obviously Anfield as a bit of a fortress. Okay, we drew against Chelsea, but we're going away and we're playing proper professional away performances, which Liverpool have in their locker. And however Liverpool choose to defend or attack, it feels like we're starting to get variety and options of how we choose to attack games.
Yeah, and for me, more than anything else, it's the foundations that's going to build this season for us, really, and that just comes across when you're watching the game. It's how we're building ourselves for the season, make ourselves very difficult to beat, very difficult to break down, try and keep clean sheets, all these extra little tick boxes that we're just kind of crossing off now on our wish list of how we'd want the season to start. It's looking really good, and it gives, hopefully it breeds that fan base the confidence for when the home games are there, when the travelling fans are going away. We've got that confidence that we will be able to cause damage on the road, but most importantly, making Anfield a fortress again. That's where a lot of our games are going to be. The season could be won and lost in terms of our home form alone this season. So I think that is crucial for us in terms of the foundations we've set so far.
Yeah, 100%. And it comes back to that thing I think you were trying to touch on before, the fact that if you can get past Henderson and Thiago or Henderson and Fabinho, you get past that, okay, sound, we've got to face up to Joel Matip and Virgil van Dijk or Gomez or Canate. I mean, you get past them. Well, I'm sorry, you're going to have to get past Alisson Becker as well. And, you haven't got much chance of doing that either. Side Ali, thank you very much. £4.49 super chat. Thank you so much. He says, with Naby's contract ending in 2023, should we give him an extension or is it early doors? And will we have to see, if injuries are behind him? I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's too early. Because I feel like it is, and that's not a discredit to him, and that's not just that's not just his injury. I think it's his performances as well. So since the start of the season and pre-season, he's impressed me.
Yeah.
His fitness has certainly impressed me as well. The fact that he's available and he can play. Obviously, he has a bit of a tough time with on international duties, getting caught up in things that he shouldn't get caught up in. That's not necessarily his fault. But I like what was said. Klopp, he was fit towards the back end of last season, and so was Oxlade-Chamberlain. And he just went, "I'm not playing him." And I think a lot of us, including me, saw that as it like, why is he on the bench? Why is he not playing? Being frustrated with him. But I'm gonna get carried away with the goal, but I'm not gonna carry away with the goal. Obviously, scored as an absolute screamer and go give him a new contract. No. He brings something different to this Liverpool side. Completely. That we've missed, and all the cries of the past season or two of having our locker a creative midfielder when things aren't going quite right to break down teams or to do something different. For me, we've always had them. It's been Chamberlain, it's been Keita. Yeah. They've both just never been fit.
Yeah, no, and I think...
And now it's Harvey Elliott as well.
Yeah, well, again, we said that even about Harvey Elliott, really just setting that bar and knowing that you're going into big games, you set the bar in terms of how you perform. I don't think he had a lot of time. He had about 30 minutes, and I don't think he was an outstanding performer. But when you score goals like that and create moments of magic in the way that he did, you're setting the bar for yourself now. So get a run of games under your belt, 8, 10, 12 games down the line. Keep consistent performances, and we can revisit comments like that and have a proper in-depth look at the levels of improvement and where his game has improved, and hopefully the fitness alongside that. So for me, I think that's a fair reflection. I think it is we're probably jumping the gun in that sense, saying throw him a new contract now or an extension, but it's an incentive for him to say, right, well, you've got you've got the opportunity now, keep performing, and hopefully the contract stuff will resolve itself down the line.
Two things I definitely want to talk about. One is Crystal Palace, because I thought, in all fairness to them, I think they impressed me for large parts of that game. Yep. I think we were trying to figure out what Crystal Palace are under Patrick Vieira so far in the season. I've mentioned the Tottenham game that they played, their intensity, their work rate, the level that they play, the pace that they've got in that side. I think they've always had really good players, but I think there's been a massive handover in the sense of there was ageing players in that squad and definitely an ageing manager in old Roy, bless him. But I think they cause us a lot of issues. He looked towards to exploit the fullbacks. They again, we're talking about our overlaps and attacking displays. Jordan Ayew I thought was really good. Conor Gallagher I thought was really good. Zaha was really good. Benteke not so much. But they tried, and they could have had 1 or 2 goals. Crystal Palace. And I just want to talk about now, giving them a bit of credit for it. Is it a slight concern for you that Liverpool have those 5 minutes of shaky moments? We saw it against AC Milan. We saw it again today. Or do we just get complacent as football fans and don't realise that other teams are able to create chances, because that's the way that football goes?
No, well, you're right there. You hit the nail on the head. That is the way football games go. Obviously, it's better when teams cut you open with just world-class moments, and you always look and think, well, there's nothing we can do. All the defenders were in the right positions. We've just been stood up, and we've been beat by a better attack at any given time. But the reality is, there will be those shaky moments at sometimes from our own players. They're not immortals in that sense, and they're not superhuman where they don't have these abilities to not be beaten at any given moment on the pitch. So it's just about that concentration for us. And I feel, though, as good as Crystal Palace were, a better team might take those chances and be a little bit more clinical and punish us. But when you're looking at like the teams in this league, the chances that Crystal Palace got today, 14 other teams are likely to create chances like that. But again, if they're not 100%, they're like half chances. They're not like clean.
You're saying another team should be more clinical in front of goal, Errol?
Well, they will, as clinical. Do you know what I mean?
I know. I'm saying we're not.
We are. We scored 3 goals. Do you know what I mean? And again, another game where we scored 3 goals. We had 25 shots, 10 shots on target. They only had 2 shots on target the whole game anyway. So we was always, based on those numbers, we was always going to beat them and get the 3 points in that respect. So for me, it's just about minimizing how many of those shaky moments we have. We can be fans and wishful thinking that it won't happen at all in 90 minutes. But chances are, as you were saying before, when you've got a spine of Alisson, Fabinho, you've got Van Dijk in there, sometimes Matip or Gomez, you're going to have one or two moments, but are you going to be able to beat all of that spine? Yeah. Probably not. You might pick a hole in one or two parts of it, but it's getting the finished article at the end is very difficult.
You much prefer to be the Liverpool way of creating 60 chances and scoring 30 of them rather than having a handful of chances, and you've got to be 100%, otherwise you're not getting the goal, which is the point you're kind of getting at. Yeah, love that. Adrian Anderson says, Errol knows ball, really good addition to the team. Thank you very much. Dickie Oy Redscene, really enjoyed the show today as well. There's lots of people saying about the squad depth thing. There's 2 comments which you just picked out there saying some people said we had no squad depth. I think at this point it's also important to remember, because this goes both ways. If we had loads of injuries, I know people would say it, going, "Oh, I told you so, we should have done this." I don't think we should do it the other way either. Currently, of going, well, actually, okay, you can say we've got squad depth and it's paying off right now, but I don't think it's a case of rubbing it in people's faces forever. As Steve Nicol just says, FSG in forever. Yeah, nice one, well done. Sadio Mane, another player I want to talk about before we start to wrap things up very, very shortly. Exceptional. Just what an absolute player. I know you mentioned before, we both touched on Liverpool's style of play recently, and I think we're starting to see the better versions of Sadio Mane and Mohamed Salah from last season. I know Salah's numbers were kind of still up there, but all the doubts that I think were over Sadio Mane, I think were levelled at him unfairly because of the team that was behind him, or the way that, not on the players, but the way that we had to play. Yeah. So except, we've said this time and time again, we couldn't play like we did today or so far this season with Nat Phillips and Reece Williams at centre-half, because the full-backs can't bomb forward. The full-backs then can't support the forward players. We're then playing a disjointed, tired midfield week in, week out, whereas now we're starting to see the benefits of having the squad that we have got available to us and the players that are in there as well, to give the likes of Mane and Salah the freedom to open space up for them, to use players as decoys, to cut inside, to go in behind, to do give and goes, underlaps, overlaps, everything.
It's unpredictable again.
Exactly.
It's become unpredictable again, and we're hard to play against or set up against from a defensive perspective. And, I think I've seen a stat after the match where Mane scored 13 in his last 14 appearances in the Prem for us. So he's starting to get those numbers back for us. He doesn't always look the prettiest on the eye. He can be guilty sometimes of overthinking situations where you're just desperate for him to take the shot early or take the opportunity early, or just make up his mind. Yeah. You're running through on goal, make up your mind, commit to what you want to do, instead of he gets caught in two minds and then, the opportunity misses, a defender gets back or the keeper smothers him. Whereas right now, I think the goal that he scored, he didn't have time to think about it. The keeper parries it right into his path. One touch, just bam, blasted into the roof of the net. That's the Mane. He can be explosive. Yeah. But at the same time, I think the way he plays his game hasn't changed in terms of his overall play. I don't think the level has dropped that considerably. It has just been the output from him, and I think that's been a surprise, because we probably got complacent as fans, that we just thought these guys are just going to keep scoring no matter what, week in, week out. Our wide forwards will just bag every single game, or almost every single game. And then when he went a large period without, I think we just panicked because we hadn't seen that side to Sadio at all.
And expected to see was more from him because of what was going on around him. And like I said before, going into work,
combination.
Yeah, him going in and going, oh, someone else is injured, by the way. I need an extra 10% of you. You're playing 3 times a week. Just give it everything. I think is really hard. Yeah. Mo Salah, again, just heavily involved in a lot of things. For the same thing I've just said about Sadio Mane, I think it's the same for Mo Salah. I said it in previous shows, the way that he's starting to play is because of the people that are around him, as well as his own ability, but heavily involved in most things that we did. Mane's goal comes from a set piece that's headed by Mo Salah, obviously spills and goes to the goalkeeper. Obviously he's involved in the corner, which eventually finds its way to Naby Keita, and he gets himself a goal. To have the player of his ability in our squad, the different things that he brings to the squad, whether it's creating things, whether it's being clinical in front of goal, the fact that the teams that we play still try and put 2 players up against him, and the fact that he's getting support from other players, again, is giving him other options and giving him variety in his play to cause damage. I
think his general overall, the almost the opposite of Mane in some senses. Like, Mane was the output that was kind of missing. Sometimes you was thinking the overall play from Salah, he was very selfish, but he was clinical in front of goal, so you couldn't really knock him. But there was question marks, or some question marks, around his overall play. I think his overall play this season so far has been out of this world. It's been ridiculous at times. He's been really good at bringing other people into play. The interchanging players, you say, down that right-hand channel has been phenomenal at times. The output, again, is still of a world-class level. He's doing silly numbers at the minute. Again, he's another one who's just got past the 100-goal mark for Liverpool. There was a question in the watch-along earlier, basically saying, is he the best right-forward of Premier League era? we'll be hard pressed to find a better one.
Yeah.
You know, we spent a couple of minutes looking through the chat to see what the suggestions were, and he's levels above anyone that anybody else was suggesting. So for me, as long as, and again, the beauty of the two, especially the wide forwards, is, touch wood again, their fitness record is unparalleled for the amount of games that these guys are playing year in, year out. It is unparalleled. So provided those two stay fit, they're both on again for 20 plus goals a season.
100%. There's a comment here that says Salah will overtake Gerrard, Drogba and Giggs.
He's already overtook Drogba, hasn't he?
No, I think Drogba's on 104, I think.
Oh, is it?
So
yeah.
I think Salah's now on 101. Doing bits for those that have got him in fantasy football as well. You know, should really be captaining that player as well. I think we're going to wrap things up there. The one thing I do want to mention is just the results from around the league that are around us.
Naby. Can't not.
Oh, sorry.
You can't not mention. We can't what? Can't not mention the goal of the game.
Sod the other ones. Naby Keita, again, we're talking about players coming in, expecting performances from them. I don't think the intensity levels drop when Naby Keita come on. As similar for Curtis Jones as well. But to come in and to put in the level of performance that he did, but also just to when you think Jordan Henderson scored an absolute screamer and has made your week, to then come on and be able to kind of top that, I think, you know, and it's something actually we're starting to see from Liverpool is the amount of the influence we're having from set pieces and scoring goals. Again, I mentioned the Salah one there before, his goal, the one that he sets up ish for Sadio Mane, but Naby Keita one, the precision, the technique, the ability that he produces, just absolutely just twat it into the top corner. Give it absolutely no chance. Love it.
Yeah, easily a goal of the month contender.
100%.
all day. And if you've not seen it, look forward to the likes of Man of the match of the day tonight. And I'm just excited to watch it again, really, because I've only seen the clips that, you know, when we got to watch it. It's just the technique. It was a thunderbolt out of the blue, and I think he's almost bemused himself as to say, did that really just happen in front of a full-packed Anfield? This feels surreal. And it was just a nice human moment to just remember, like, how much the rest of the team love him as a player as well. And, you know, Klopp's always spoke really highly of him and says he's expecting big things. And if they're the types of moments that he's been expecting or been waiting for from Naby, long may they continue. 100%.
And for his confidence as well. You know, I'm sure he's not happy to hear the doubters or the criticism, you know, whether it's level... whether it's fair or not, you know, there's obviously a level of frustration there from the Liverpool fans of, you know, his availability and him not doing things. I think, again, with him and several other players, there's never been a question of his ability. It's always his fitness. Yeah. But if he can add to things, as you just said, with goals like that and performances like that, then sound. What a nice addition to have. Don't say it's like a new side.
No, I was going to say, and City drew as well, so we are top of the league for
and
at least 24 hours.
As well.
Yeah,
and it's Chelsea City next week, I believe, as well. So Chelsea City next week, and we've got Brentford away.
Yeah, and then it's Man U and West Ham tomorrow as well. So, you know, we've applied early pressure onto the chase and pack, and we can't ask for much more.
So we can sit back, watch match of the day, and then watch all the other teams tomorrow.
Put your feet up, lad. You've done a good job today.
I will do. Yeah, I'm on daddy duties.
Big up Ross, big up Tom in on the buttons as well.
Yeah, but the dream team has done it again. Liverpool is the obviously dream team, but we're the subsidiary B team. Meet Errol and Tom. We'll be back on Monday, of course, as I mentioned, for the final word. Paul and Chris will be taking watch along and post match content duties for the next few days. We've got Norwich, then Brentford, and then we'll be back again for a home game against Man City. We'll be back for the big one. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Keep your thoughts and comments coming. Please remember to like the stream. Thank you so much once again for all your nice comments, your support, your super chats, and everything else that you do in support of us, the Redmen TV, myself, Errol, and Tom in the background there. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you very, very soon. Ta-ra.
Up the Reds.
In November this year, COP Connect will present COP Canada.
A 3-day fan event
For Reds all over the world.
With former Liverpool players and live music in the world-class city of Vancouver.
So, if your heart's as big as Liverpool,
we'll see you there. COP Canada is on the 5th to the 7th of November. Tickets are on